Hey everyone, this is John. Welcome to another episode of the Script Department. This week's episode is another story about fathers and daughters. There's a good reason for this. When we conceived of the show initially, we planned to do 3 scripts an episode, and each episode would be built around a genre, in this case, the domestic drama. But for one reason or another, it didn't quite work out, and so we opted for individual episodes instead. Anyway, none of that's really important. This week's story is called Layan, and it comes from David Moore. Exterior, deserted valley, day. Snow covers the peaks of the endless valleys in the distance. Winter has settled. On an abandoned roadside, a small outpost can be found. Once an old school, now converted into a rest stop for soldiers on their way through the tundra. A man, 40s, who we will come to know as Father, is using a large waste container as leverage to climb the wall of the outpost. His daughter, Layan, a child of 12 years old, is playing with a doll on the road. Father: Layan, come over and help me. The father tries to leverage himself further, but slips and falls into the container. He sticks his head out. It's covered in trash. The sound of a truck. The father hears it. He sees the truck in the distance. Layan, he calls. The girl sees the dark green vehicle, an army transport most likely, and runs to hide on the opposite side of the road. The truck stops in the road and soldiers emerge. Father lowers his head back inside the container. One of the soldiers, a commander, notices the doll on the ground and looks about suspiciously. Layan is hiding behind a pile of rubbish. The father peers out through a hole in the container and sees the doll. The commander picks up the doll and they enter the outpost. On a hillside nearby, that night, a fire burns. Father and Layan are sitting opposite each other. Layan is drawing the shape of the doll in the dirt. Her father coughs violently and grows frustrated as he reaches for his handkerchief. Later, he studies the outpost and sees the last light in the building extinguished as the soldiers go to sleep. Satisfied, he turns to his daughter, who is waiting idly. Holding a water satchel, the father pours the last of their supply into a cup, demonstrating just how worse off they are. Layan takes the satchel and affixes it to her rucksack. As Layan departs, she can hear her father let out another fiery cough from afar. In the outpost, Layan has successfully entered the main building. She creeps through the main room of the small building, past sleeping soldiers, and stubs her foot on a table. A glass of water nearly spills. She crosses further to the dripping tap in the corner and is about to reach for it when she sees the doll on the table. Then a soldier wakes and sees her. Back in the hillside, her father watches from a distance as Layan escapes the outpost, clutching something in her hands, while a soldier waves at her in protest. He doesn't give chase. Moments later, the father wipes away another cough with his handkerchief, while Layan is busy brushing the doll's hair. The father looks to his daughter in anger. No water, no satchel either. Layan just brushing the doll's hair, as if oblivious to their crisis. He pulls her aside. He searches a small first aid box in his bag and finds the scissors. He grabs the doll's hair and threatens to cut it. But he hesitates as he sees the terror in his daughter's eyes, terror of the prospect that her doll will be damaged. The father gives and puts down the scissors again. He returns the doll, unharmed. The next day, in their car, Layan sits next to her father as he drives through the snow-covered valley. Neither speak, though the father is still coughing and muffling the sickly barks with his handkerchief. They pass what looks like a camp of some sort, dozens of tents and makeshift shelters. Men and women emerge at the sound of the vehicle approaching, and they come rushing out for food or supplies. Layan is curious about them, and studies them as they pass. She looks to her father, suggesting that they should stop. But the father pushes down on the accelerator, and soon they are but a glimmer in the distance. Night. More endless driving. Layan is asleep, but is woken by silent flashes of light in the distance, and then sounds. Layan looks, as does her father, still driving. Explosions in the distance. The next day, as the sun rises, the father notices a checkpoint ahead. He's troubled, and Layan wonders. He stops the car on the road, looks in the rearview mirror, and sees another vehicle creeping up in the distance. He puts the car into reverse and wastes little time in getting away. Later, the vehicle is parked on the side of the road. The checkpoint is still visible in the distance, but they are far away. The father is gathering what belongings he can carry and crosses the road into the hills. Come on. Layan's doll is still on the seat. She reaches for it, but just as her fingers touch the plastic, it falls down to the floor of the car, and her father tugs her away before she can grab it. Later, in the valley, wind and snow beat down on them as they walk. Layan is struggling and her father is struggling further ahead, pushing against the elements. Layan looks back and the car is still in view. They haven't walked that far at all. The father turns back and sees that Layan is standing, arms crossed for warmth. He grunts at her to move, but she shakes her head. That night, they sit around a campfire that just won't light, despite her father's attempts. Wrapped in blankets, Layan draws the shape of the doll again on the ground. The father throws down his flint and knife and gives up. There is an awkwardness between them, disappointment almost. Father, do you know what Layan means? Layan doesn't respond, just continues to scratch into the snow. He shrugs off her silence and turns in for the night. He gives out another loud cough, and it shakes Layan. Father, it means gentle. Layan looks to her father. She tries not to let her emotions show. The father is staring into the darkness on the other side, away from his daughter. It was your mother's idea. I never wanted you to be gentle. Layan gives no response. And this silence prompts him to look back. But then he finds that she is gone. He sits up and looks about. There's no sign of her in the darkness. Layan? He stands up. Layan! He steps on a branch and it snaps. It's the same branch that she was using to draw the doll in the snow. His footprint smears some of the drawing now. That's when he realizes it isn't a doll after all. It is a family. A man, a woman, and a child. crude drawings, but he recognizes them nonetheless. He removes his handkerchief, the same he's been using throughout. He looks at it. It belonged to a woman once, judging by its design. He smells it and holds it close, and it moves him to tears. She's gone. Hi guys, it's me again. If you're enjoying this and you want to see what else we get up to, do check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net, where you can learn more about screenwriting in general. We provide tips and analysis of films, and more updates about this show. You can also find us on YouTube, just search for The Script Department. And you can find me on Twitter at JohnFinnegan247. Okay, back to the episode. The next day, in the valley, Layan travels on foot down an empty countryside. Elsewhere, the father is wandering as well. That evening, in the hillside, Layan finds herself at the campfire near the outpost. She sits down and looks around. Layan tries to light the fire, but has no luck. Then she sees the outpost, and her stomach grumbles. She's hungry, and she knows what she must do. As darkness falls, Layan arrives at the wall of the outpost and looks for an opportunity to scale it. She notices the water satchel on the ground, still there from when she dropped it in her escape previously. She picks it up, screws off the top and tries to drink from it, but all that comes from it is crushed ice. The water inside is frozen. Another vehicle arrives, and Layan is frightened, but realizes that this time it is not military, but just a man and his young son. They emerge from the car. They are not threatening and show genuine concern. She recoils at first. "It's okay, little one," the man says. Layan grows less frightened when she notices the boy is playing with an action figure, not unlike the doll that she was playing with. In their car, Layan sits in the back seat as the man and his son retrace her journey down the road. They pass her father's car on the side of the road, and Layan takes notice. But she turns away and stares out the other window, perhaps daydreaming. "We're here," the man says. Layan looks to see the car has stopped at the checkpoint. A queue of cars wait ahead. Layan panics. "It's okay, little one. Soon we'll be across." She grows more agitated. As the car arrives at the checkpoint, the commander from earlier peers in the window to look about. The driver of the car and his son look back, but find that Layan has vanished. Outside, Layan is hiding behind the car. The driver of the car behind is looking puzzled at her. The man's cars pass through and she falls backwards as it moves on, and she quickly scampers away. Back on the road, she walks again, aimlessly moving in the direction of her father's car. And she arrives at the abandoned car and looks inside. She searches for the doll, but can't find it. Closing the door, she sees her father standing nearby. He's holding the doll. Neither know what to say to each other. But he hands her the doll, and she takes it, and smiles. Layan removes the water satchel from her rucksack, and gives it to him. He shakes it. The ice has melted now, and he feels the water inside. And then she hugs her father. Sometime later, on a hillside far away. The weather has changed. Spring is coming in, and father and daughter are climbing the hill together. The snow is gone now. Layan is more mature in her demeanour, but she still clutches the doll. The father's health has improved, seen by his quick scaling of the hill. His handkerchief is now tied to his wrist as a decorative piece. "What's taking you so long?" he shouts back. He smiles, knowingly and playfully taunting his daughter. Layan is not pleased as usual, and she eventually reaches the top of the hill and is struck by the vista ahead. Her father puts his arm around her, and they look at the new world that awaits them. All is well. The end. Layan was written by David Moore and was read by me, John Finnegan. The music was composed by Ross Bugden, who does really incredible work, and he asks for little in return, so please do check out his work. The link is in the description. We'll be back with a new episode very soon. Thanks for listening.